When I first suspected my wife, Clara, of cheating, I told myself I was just being paranoid. We had been married for 8 years, and while we'd had our share of ups and downs, I believed we were solid. But lately, something had changed. She started staying late at work, guarding her phone like a secret, and smiling at texts she would never let me see. Every instinct in me screamed that something was wrong, but I needed proof before confronting her. That's when I decided to hire a private investigator. The investigator, a man named Martin, was professional, calm, and direct. He didn't make promises, just said he'd find the truth. I gave him Clara's schedule, her workplace, and even her gym routine. He listened quietly, then said, "Sometimes, people surprise you. Be ready for whatever I find." His words haunted me that night as I lay awake, staring at the empty side of the bed she'd claimed she was too tired to share. The first few days, Martin sent me small updates, photos of her going to work, grabbing coffee, nothing unusual. For a moment, I felt foolish for doubting her. Maybe I'd let my insecurity eat me alive. But then, 3 days later, he called. "She's meeting someone regularly," he said, his tone serious. My stomach dropped. He told me they were at a restaurant downtown and asked if I wanted pictures. I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said quietly. The pictures arrived an hour later. My hands trembled as I opened them. There she was, Clara, laughing across the table from a man I didn't recognize. He was young, well-dressed, and from the way they leaned toward each other, it was clear this wasn't business. One photo showed her hand on his. My chest tightened. It felt like someone had punched a hole straight through me. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to know how long this had been going on. Martin kept following her. Over the next week, the evidence piled up. Hotel visits, dinner dates, even an afternoon at the park where she kissed him openly. Every photo felt like another dagger. Still, I stayed quiet, pretending everything was normal, though inside, I was falling apart. Then came the twist I never saw coming. One evening, Martin called and said, "You should see this yourself. Tonight, she's meeting him again." My heart pounded as I drove to the location he sent me, a quiet restaurant near the river. I parked across the street and watched through the window. They were sitting close, laughing, like two people madly in love. Then, I noticed something strange. Another man walked in and joined them. At first, I thought maybe he was a friend. But then Martin, sitting beside me in his car, whispered, "That's her boss." My confusion grew. Why would her boss be there? We watched as Clara and the young man handed him an envelope. The boss opened it, glanced through some papers, and nodded. That's when I realized something wasn't right. This wasn't just an affair, it looked like a deal. The next day, I confronted Martin. "What are they doing?" I asked. He looked uneasy. "I think your wife and that man are involved in something more than an affair. She's helping him sell company information. Her boss might be in on it." My blood ran cold. Clara worked as a financial analyst in a private firm. If what he said was true, she wasn't just cheating, she was committing a crime. I asked Martin to gather solid evidence. Over the next week, he did. Hidden camera footage, voice recordings, bank transfers, all showing Clara's involvement in leaking confidential files. My heartbreak turned into anger, but not the kind that makes you shout. The quiet kind, the one that makes you plan. I decided to expose everything. I collected all the evidence and sent it anonymously to her company's HR department and the CEO. Within 2 days, Clara's world collapsed. She was called into a meeting and never came back to that office. When she got home that night, pale and shaking, she told me she'd been fired. "Someone framed me," she said, eyes wide with panic. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her. For once, the guilt was written all over her face. A week later, the police came. Apparently, her boyfriend had confessed and pinned everything on her to save himself. She was taken in for questioning, and though she was released later, her reputation was gone. Friends avoided her, and even her own family turned their backs. Through it all, I remained silent. Eventually, she tried to talk to me. "I made mistakes," she said, crying. "But I never wanted to hurt you." I looked at her, this woman I had loved, who had destroyed everything we built, and said quietly, "You didn't just hurt me, Clara. You ended us." That was the last conversation we ever had. Months passed. The divorce went through easily. She didn't contest anything. I moved out of the house and started fresh in a small apartment downtown. Sometimes, I still think about her, wondering how someone I once trusted completely could become a stranger. But then I remember the moment I decided to find the truth, and I'm grateful I did. The unbelievable ending wasn't just catching her cheating. It was discovering the depth of her betrayal. She didn't only cheat on me with another man, she cheated her company, her friends, and her own integrity. And in the end, while she lost everything, I found something priceless, the truth that set me free.